Hello everybody, welcome to today's session on Navigating Technology Part 1, the State of IT Implementation. But before we dive into the State of IT Implementation, I would first like to present our overall framework for business execution. What you have in front of you is our framework, and to achieve execution excellence, we highly advocate organizations to have the right value, behavior, and attitude, looking at the appropriate integrating processes to link communications, knowledge management, ability to manage issues and risks, important competencies that the individuals and team need to have, and of course the core disciplines such as project management. The next slide shows a little bit more detail, and not going to all of the sub-bullets, it lays out a little bit of what we envision in each of these four major components. Navigating technology, in our view, is a part of important competencies for managing technology, and hence it's listed there. So let's dive into navigating technology. The current state of IT implementation overall is relatively poor, and I think to IT professionals, this should not be a surprise. I think the latest fiasco examples, very well known, is the Healthcare.gov. According to Standish study, and one of the latest study we looked at from a couple years ago, about 32% of IT projects are considered successful. Only 32%. 25% of them were considered utter failures, meaning they were never completed or the scope was so out of whack that essentially the project failed. Another 44% considered to be challenged, and by challenge we meaning they ran into budget overrun, schedule perhaps were lapsed, scope may have to be greatly reduced in order to achieve the date. So there were significant amount of challenges, but at least they were done. What that means is success rate from about a decade ago was 25%, and now maybe we hit 32%. But considering how many project managers and IT professionals we have in our economy, this is hardly any consolation. So the question is why? When we start looking at the state and the challenges of IT implementation, there are a couple major causes, and I think a lot of the IT professionals, some of them at least, will resonate with their experience. So for example, technology. Very fast-paced changes in the technology. Today, we're talking about cloud computing, big data. A couple of years ago, some of these words doesn't even exist. Resource scarcity. Getting the right people with the right skill at the right time to work on the technology projects are becoming more and more difficult. There's a scarcity of really good, solid IT professionals, especially when you can get into specialties such as SAP, PeopleSoft, or big data. Costs. Technology costs are difficult to control because there are many factors outside of the control, sometimes even outside the control of the vendors themselves. And there could be fluctuation due to energy prices, for example, on the data centers. But more importantly is the cost of, for example, information security is increasing at a faster pace than some of the more well-known technologies such as programming or development or testing. But overall, technology is still a relatively moderate component of the overall challenge, and that hits one of the issues is take application, for example. A lot of organizations design a small application that has homegrown, meant to do a patchwork for a couple of years, and next thing you know, that application is still in operation, way after its useful life, or at least intended life, and the cost of maintaining that application is becoming rather costly. So when you look at technology, aside from the implementation, there are at least two other major cost considerations. One is what are the business processes and its evolution? How does the technology enables or disables certain business processes, but at least it makes an impact. And of course, when you talk about large enough implementations, when people's behaviors, their usage changes, the people factor becomes a significant consideration. So technology in some cases are actually a fairly small cost of the overall package. the cost of re-engineering, reprocessing, redesigning processes, the cost of people changing, training them, organization change that often comes as a result of changing the business processes. Those indeed need to be considered. To summarize this first part, we have a little bit of research that we found. We thought it was really good. It shows a taxonomy of what are the main causes of IT implementation failures. And there are essentially 6 major root causes, according to this research. First, project management factor. How well and disciplined was the project managed? Top manage factor. Did we get the right level of sponsorship? Did we have the right governance? Do we have the right leaders making sure the project is on track? Technology factors. What are the developments experience? Are we on bleeding edge technology, cutting edge technology, or something that's tried and true? Organizational factors. The culture, the structure of the organization. How likely is people to embrace this kind of change? Complexity. How many dependencies does this project have? How many moving pieces? How complex? Do we have all the complexity figured out, even conceptually? And that gets into the issue of failure. And then, of course, the size. The size of the project. Are there conflicting interests? The bigger the project, the longer the duration, chances are the external environment also changes as well. So that has to be taken into consideration. This completes our first session on navigating technology. We'll have a second session on talking a little bit more details about how to best manage technology. Thank you very much and have a great day.